Lunar V3 is Deepwoken's ultimate M1 PvE build, capable of dealing over 3,000 damage in M1, and thanks to the Berserk talent, all of that damage is true damage, meaning that it bypasses the armor of Deepwoken's bosses, which is what allows this build to be better than any other build. On top of that, it still maintains incredibly good mobility, and at 2,000 likes or 500 subscribers gained, I will drop the showcase and build maker links, which include a variant of this build that gets a lot of photoshoot as well. So you'll not only be dealing top tier damage, but you'll be taking very little as well. So if you enjoy this video and want to see more PvE builds like it, make sure to like and subscribe and join the Discord. A huge thank you to my channel members, especially those kind souls on the Mega and Super tiers. They get these videos early along with other channel member perks. With that out of the way, this is how I progged Deepwoken's ultimate M1 PvE build. In my opinion, the Authority Origin is a little bit overpowered. A lesser example as to why is the fact that I can equip a Providence Thorns Sovereign's Punishment for free. If you don't know, Providence Thorns was changed a couple months ago to scale off your weapon's damage. And because a Sovereign's Punishment, even with 0 heavy, is doing more than an Avenger, this actually makes a Providence Thorns Sovereign Punishment meta for progging. The first thing I'm gonna do though is just go to Trial of 1 on this build. Okay, but weapon equipping with 0 investment isn't actually why I think this Origin is strong. My issue actually comes from the faction talents that the Authority Origin gets. More specifically that it's the only faction with faction talents. Like sure, being able to equip a weapon without any of the normal investment is pretty big and probably on the stronger side of the faction perks. However, it doesn't really define a build, but talents are incredibly important for a build. I'll give you a few examples of how I'm using some of the Authority talents in this build, and it's a PvE build. These talents would be a lot more impactful in PvP. We have the Martial Brutality talent, which when I'm fighting something with higher HP than me, so literally always in PvE, I'll gain more posture damage. This is incredibly strong for something like a Duke or Maestro because I can posture break them very easily. And then you have the Amp talent, which gives you double guard breaks, which is incredibly good in PvE as you're not getting guard broken that often in comparison to when you're guard breaking things. While those two talents, they aren't absolutely insane, again, it's the fact that other Origins just don't have those exclusive talents that I take issue with, and is why I would describe the Authority Origin as overpowered. I've seen some people try to balance it out by saying that the Authority Origin gets less quality of life, like no guild base for example, but I don't think it's healthy for the game if you're trading quality of life things like guild base for more build performance, since you don't want to make people have less fun in order to make a better build. And while most of the time the Authority talents aren't gonna make or break who wins in a fight, in the cases that they do, it's gonna feel incredibly bad because it's gonna feel like you're being punished for playing the more convenient Origin instead of having to suffer through doing the Authority jobs to get a slightly better build. I think that it would have been best to release a variety of different faction talents for a lot of the other factions in the game when the Authority Origin was released. Okay, I walked the wrong way. I was too busy commentating. I'm not gonna list all of the possible faction talents as I don't think I'd have the best ideas for them, but just to give one off the top of my head, if you aligned with the divers, you could potentially get a lot of faction talents that have to do with being in the depths. For example, they could make Conquer Your Fears a talent that you just get through the divers, instead of one you need willpower for. I believe if they did something like that, it would have made the Authority Origin a lot less of a must-have, but granted that would have taken a lot more work to design an extra, what, 20 possible talents? They're definitely gonna do it in the future, and there's no way this is just something limited to the Authority. Also, I'm actually kind of surprised that Trial let me start with an enchant equipped. It's gonna make Trial of 1 way too easy. That being said, we're not gonna be in here for very long, since I would like to avoid using a Moonside Tome if possible. Therefore, as soon as I get Lightning Assault, I am gonna dip out. Well, speaking of, I think I can get to the point where we're about to power up next, and then I can go to Crypt of the Unbroken. Unfortunately, I can't can't use the Deep Shrine right now because I'm not the Lone Warrior origin. I won't get a mantra next hand, so I am safe to probably get up to Angels. I just realized we're doing blunt instead of slashing damage, so that's actually going to make the golems even easier to kill. Okay, we're gonna... Oh no, I messed up the build! No! Okay, we're meant to start with Blood Rand and not Flame Charm. Well, okay, I'll quickly wipe and then I'll get to this same point again. Okay, we're back to where we were, and I just got Lightning Assault, and I luckily got Lightning Clones again through the library quest. So I'll start by going to Proficiency, and this time around I actually have Blood Rend, so we can start to level up the right attunement. The pre-shrine for this build is incredibly simple, and as you can tell, in total we're only going 3 attunements, so actually less than Lunar Lord V2. However, that is partially because Glacial Arc is just really buggy at the moment, and thus it's not even worth getting the Frost Draw. I did decide to remove Flame Charm in favor of gaining Rush Hour, as overall Rush Hour is just a better buff if you don't care too much about your HP. It gives you 15% more damage to everything, which is 5% more than Flame Within, along with actually buffing your Speed Demon's bleed damage by a little bit, which is why I decided to go the Blood Rend over the Flame Charm. That being said, I will still include a Flame Charm variant of this build when I release the Build Maker links, as Flame Charm is a lot easier to use, since the drain on it's a lot less compared to Blood Rend. Okay, I don't know if we're gonna go to Power 4, as I do need to get Lightning Cloak and Spark Swap pre-shrine. Okay, Angels time. They are... Whoa, that was surprisingly easy. What the hell? There was 1 parry and 1 critical and all the Angels died. Well, we have 10 trainings, but I am going to need to use Mystic somehow, so I think I'll have to go back to Etris. Now, go back to Etris, Mystic for 3 stars, and then I can maybe spam the Thundercall training item for a little bit. But back onto what we were talking about before, with other factions getting these faction-based talents, I also want to reiterate an idea that I saw Crimson Kaido had, and that's the fact that you should have an NPC guild, so the Central Authority, as well as a player guild. That just allows you to keep the quality of life of other origins while aligning yourself with a lore-based guild, which I believe is ultimately a lot healthier for the game. Obviously, some origins like the Central Authority or Castle Light origin could just lock you to that faction, but if you allow people to change between different factions on different origins, in my opinion, that's gonna add a lot to build diversity. Not to mention, when stuff like the PvP Luminant or massive team-based game modes come out, it could be interesting to have faction versus faction wars over just guild versus guild wars. Because realistically, if something like the PvP Luminant came out, I think there's a high chance of big guilds just flooding and then winning it repeatedly. Whereas you could create somewhat of a divide if you make it faction versus faction. I decided to go to Vigils instead just because it is closer to the Authority base. We do have to work around this annoying AWOL timer, however, you can just relog and then it resets back to 15 minutes. I would be surprised if they don't change that to not just be a viable option, since that does kind of remove any suspense if you can just relog. However, this is a very annoying timer, since if it hits 0, then I lose all of my Authority stuff permanently forever, and that just makes this origin a direct downgrade and waste of time. Kind of one of the unfortunate things about this origin. Okay, I was worried for a second that I wouldn't get the 3-star that we needed. We are on track to not need a Moon's Eye. I did also use 1 knowledge to put a die pack in my bank, so if I'm 1 knowledge short, then that's gonna be kind of funny. But the true downside to the Authority origin is the drip, because I'm locked into the Authority armor, which is not the armor I want to use. I'll put a screenshot on screen of the drip that I'm roughly going to run at the end of the build. I wiped to a bug, by the way. You'll find out how I wiped later on. Or, you know, I'll just put it on screen right now. It's going to be a little bit different in-game, but this is what I was going to go for, and I'm sadly locked into the Authority armor that corresponds to the division that I'm going to go to. It's the division with all of those posture talents that I talked about earlier. It's the only one that's really going to be useful for this type of build. The ability to transmog schematics if you don't meet the requirements has been something people have been requesting for a long time, because I remember the Twilight Monarch drip was actually going to be a lot different to how it turned out, because I wanted to use the Sanguine Fury armor set. However, that required Blood Rend and the build never even had it. So it would be incredibly nice to be able to craft any armor set, but you can only actually equip and gain the bonuses if you have the certain stats you need, just so you could have a lot more variety of drip, and you're not locked out of certain drip styles by being a certain origin or having certain stats. And there is power 5. I don't believe we're gonna get any important cards at this point, so I'm just gonna try and stack folds for the future. That way when I do get to 25 charisma, there's no way I'm not gonna roll tough love. I do want to get some extra rares too, since at some point we are going to need to roll rush hour, so hopefully I can remove some of the excess rares from the pool to make it a lot easier to roll. And there is the last of the charisma that we need. Now I just need to start leveling up my Blood Rend, which is going to be incredibly slow, and then I can blasphemy and Shrine of Order. Okay, wait, I'm actually wrong. We need to get to 35 charisma in order to get neuroplasticity and snake oil. So we do get another power up just from charisma, which I believe should align with our next mantra hand. So hopefully we either roll Spark Swap or Taunt. I'll go for Taunt first, just because there's only support charisma mantras. Thus, it's going to be a lot more likely that we complete the pre-shrine of this build using as little knowledge as possible. Also, before I forget, after this charisma dialogue, let me relog to reset my AWOL timer. Unfortunately, we were 1 point away from being able to get to 35 charisma, but that's probably down to the fact that I leveled up Blood Rend before I even needed to. So kind of my bad for not having a set stat order by now. I'll get Charismatic Cast though, which will lead us into getting Tough Love. It's probably the one talent that I've taken on basically every build I've ever made. Well, besides from the obvious ones like Blood Iron Spirit or Scuba Drowner. Obviously, I'm always taking those because they don't have a stat point requirement. And for the mantra hand, okay, we got Spark Swap. That's good, that's good. We got all of the lightning mantras that we need. Now we just need to roll Taunt pre-shrine, which shouldn't be too hard, hopefully. So I'll just go to the Mystic and guarantee charisma mantras. After way too long, there is power 7. I think this is the... Actually, no, we're gonna get one more power up on the build. Sadly, we're not gonna get a chance to roll for a charisma mantra this time around, but that's fine because it's a 50-50 chance, so there's no way we don't get all the mantras that we need. Sadly though, it's gonna be a bunch more spamming of the Blood Rend training item for me. And that leaves us with 50 Blood Rend, or essentially the whole pre-shrine done. All I need to do now is buy the ankle weights to get 1 agility, which will power us up. I didn't actually realize it'd do that, but it doesn't matter. There's Rush Hour, the one card we needed from Blood Rend. Now, it doesn't really matter what we get here, so I'll just grab whatever cards and we can reroll them later. We unfortunately didn't get the charisma card that we needed, but that's perfectly fine since we can just Shrine of Blasphemy, which we need to do anyways. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to Shrine of Blasphemy and then I can just Shrine of Order. Yeah, pretty easy. Actually, wait, no, I just noticed I'm already power 8. Okay, if I did take a mantra there, then I could have just... Yeah, I could have just re-rolled it at mini. Okay, yeah. I was used to the version before where I only got to power 7 because I didn't actually think of 35 charisma until later. So, yeah, unfortunately, I sort of messed up there, but we can redeem ourselves. I'm thinking, okay, so I can save myself getting an extra floor if I just use a Moon's Eye Tome and then go to the depths to use the Shrine of Unification. Although I am trying to not use Moon's Eye Tomes just to not make people think that I need to. You know what? I'm gonna Shrine of Blasphemy. I think it'll be fine if I do it. It's 1 extra floor, and realistically getting Manic or Squeamish isn't gonna do anything. So I'll just head over to Hidden Village now and do that. Here we are, interact with the shrine, and there we go. Despite being 1 knowledge down, we now have the pre-shrine of the build done without without any real issues. So all I've got to do is just wait for the mantra hands and then take taunt. I'm gonna start heading over to Songseeker in order to actually use Shrine of Order. I'm definitely getting way more cards than I need to because I don't even need most of these post-shrine. Yeah, I'll just take whatever. Unfortunately, I'm not getting folds in my hands. Okay, now we're at the mantra hands and taunt. That is the final mantra we need pre-shrine. I'm just gonna double check that just in case. Okay, yep, we have all of these stuff we need pre-shrine, so it's as simple as investing 1 point into strength. Actually, we're getting two traits. Okay, now, we're getting 3 traits. We'll go into Song Chant just to buff up our Gale mantras. 1 point into strength. Really? We don't have any strength points? Okay, well, I can just do this event over here. Never mind, there's no homeless people. Normally, there's guys over here that I can, like, do an event with. Okay, well, I guess I'm using my autodidact points. 1 point into strength and 1 point with the heavy weapon manual. We don't have a heavy weapon point either. Okay, that's just unlucky. Okay, now that should be literally everything we need to do. So let's head over to Songseeker. I just realized I didn't check what floor I got and deficient. That could be better, but we can reroll it later, so it's not that bad. Anyways, 19 and everything looks right, so we'll Shrine of Order. And now post-shrine, it's mainly just a bunch of Gale training, along with strength and heavy weapon. I'm gonna save the heavy weapon until last, since Gale's gonna speed up massively when I get something like Tornado or Gale Punch, and the strength should just come passively. Post-shrine, I'm just gonna run over and do a faeryman immediately, because that's gonna give me an insane amount of XP. Plus, we have a Sovereign's Punishment with Providence Thorns, meaning that the fight is gonna be very fast. From there, we'll just start to spam train our strength, heavy weapon, and Gale. Thankfully, I picked up Discovery of Fire pre-shrine, so it makes lighting these campfires pretty easy. Hey, Jesus, this hyping is crazy. Well, hopefully we don't get a Singapore in Faeryman. So, if I timed this video right, it should release at the time of one of the bigger PvE nerfs. That being the changes to metal turrets, which is undoubtedly, well, the strongest PvE mantra at the time of me recording. Argomatsu said he's going to nerf the damage, but I did try to convince him to leave some of the original damage by making monsters break it in PvE. This basically means if you're just stat checking with metal turrets, then they're gonna break and not deal as much damage anymore. So this hopefully means that we're gonna get some sort of middle ground between keeping metal turrets as high damage, but still requiring you to actually know how to fight the boss instead of just popping in portals and cheesing it. Although I will say, given the track record of previous nerfs, it might be a little bit of a gut. Because, for example, Updraft was incredibly strong during Prime Gale. However, Updraft was nerfed to about 1/3 of its original damage in PvE, which basically made it useless, and you never really see anyone running Updraft anymore. Although there has been some nerfs, like, well, the Gale nerf, which still left it decent. So I'm hoping for the best for metal turrets, since you do need 100 intelligence to really make it worth it. Even if metal turrets does become completely gutted though, Iron Sing is still good anyways, giving you a bunch of damage through stuff like Metal Rain, Oxidizing Rush, and Metal Gatling, although it might make M1 Iron Sing better than Pure Mage. That remains to be seen, depending on just how severe the nerf is. That's why I'm trying to time this build in order to have it released around the time of metal turrets being nerfed. What I'm going to do is invest 1 point into Gale, just so we can hopefully get something like Tornado or Gale Punch. And then I am just gonna start to spam the dumbbell and use the weapons manual when I can't invest into strength anymore. Just because we Shrine of Blasphemy, we should get almost all of the strength that we need before we power up next. Hopefully we end up getting Berserk, since that would make our Faeryman kills even faster. And sadly, we didn't get that much strength. Unlock heavy weapon and invest as much as we can. Ordinarily, I would recommend against doing heavy weapon this early, but because I have a Moon's Eye Tome spare, I can speed up my prog. Of course, you can always just do an Ethiron at the end of your build. As I proved pre-shrine, Moon's Eyes are not required at all. So don't worry too much about Shining Maelstrom becoming useless after the nerfs. Yes, its damage is gonna get hit, but it's still going to be an incredibly strong build. It's just the M1 build will become better as a whole than the Mage build, but the Mage is still gonna be perfectly viable. That being said, I I do have prototype stats for Shining Maelstrom V4. It's using the Stormstrike Saintsworn thing that was made public a little bit ago. I actually asked people to look into this months and months ago, and it's always been one of those techs that's just in my back pocket for in case I want to use it. However, I did show it to Agamatsu because, well, if I make a build with it, because it seems like something that could be unintended, and if I make a build with it, I don't want it to get nerfed into the ground the next weekly. So I showed it to Aga, and he said that he's going to make Storm Strikes require more damage in PvE, but deal more damage. He said the equivalent of a heavy M1, which could mean anywhere from like 1 to 2,000 damage. So hopefully it's at the higher end. Because Storm Strikes with Saintsworn is such a cool interaction in my opinion, and I would love to see it actually kept useful. I think it's more the spam that he wanted to remove, since with just Metal Rain you could get multiple strikes a second, and then if you stacked a bunch of other mantras on top of that, then it would get kind of out of hand. So he's probably just toning it down for lag and FPS purposes. Although I did put a poll out to channel members, and they said they would have rather seen Lunar V3 than Shining Maelstrom V4. So that's the main reason that I'm progging. And in case you're wondering, no, I don't consistently get knowledge on what's going to be in the weekly. It's just that there's a content creator server which Agamatsu owns, and he did talk about the metal turrets nerf when I was in there. So that's how I know. I don't tend to publicly say things that are said in private with devs, because I don't want them to feel like everything they say is being watched by the public. It's just a personal thing. But the word has spread because another creator talked about it, I believe. So now I do want to just address the metal turrets nerf in the prog. It was definitely a long time coming. I'm just kind of annoyed that they left it as it was for so long before changing it. Also, I might need to lock in a second. I've been yapping too much. Okay, now we're good. We're good. This should be faeryman dead. Okay, that was a little close to comfort, but we're fine. I think if we're lucky, we can also power up here. So, actually, we need to level up agility too. We'll definitely get to 25. There's 25 agility, and now we can start to level up our strength. And we've sadly maxed out all of the strength and heavy weapon we can get, so I'm just gonna start to use my auto didact points on Gale in order to finally power us up. Hopefully we're gonna get a useful Gale mantra, but sadly Mystic is a little far away and I don't feel like walking all the way to the authority base. I'll get heavy hitter. We do actually stack a fair amount of posture damage on this build, and I mean Tornado is somewhat useful, so now we can train our Gale on lightning clones just by spawning them and using Tornado. I don't actually have the Gale weapon. Well, it's unfortunate. Okay, no, I think I'll get our strength to max before I actually go buy the Gale weapon, because when I do, Tornado is just gonna allow me to train Gale incredibly fast. So recently I've been getting into event hosting, basically just hosting Deepwoken events for stuff like titles and custom names. The original one that I hosted was more of just a test run to see how it would go. I ended up doing a sort of boss gauntlet that I challenged a bunch of content creators and speedrunners to beat. Some of the spots were up for grabs for the public to take if they submitted speedruns, because I don't just want this to be content creators. You know, I do need to include them so that the event, you know, has publicity, and since I'm also friends with them, I can guarantee that they'll at least take it seriously. But I do want to offer some spots to the public for people that are willing to put the effort in, because if I make people submit speedruns in order to get into the event, I can sort of vet people, because at that point I'll know that, well, they at least know the fundamentals of how to make a good and use a good PvE build. Whereas if I just made it random, there's a chance I get someone new to the game, which there's nothing wrong with being new to the game, but if I'm trying to make a boss rush event that shows how good PvE can be, then I would preferably like to have more experienced players. So I would definitely consider the first event to be a success. While there was obviously some hiccups along the way, mainly in how some monsters performed when spawned in. For example, Faeryman just voided himself in that event, which, I mean, not the worst thing that could happen. Originally, I was gonna have things like Duke and Maestro spawn in, however, they would just target stuff across the map and it would be a whole big mess. Side note, if you do have any ideas for future events, you know, do leave them in the comments, and I could consider doing an event like that in the future. Since there is definitely a lot of events I want to host, it's more just getting getting people for those events and then scheduling a time that is the main issues. Because, you know, I've got to juggle doing that event with my actual main content as well. That's why I'm not constantly hosting them. Oh yeah, plus I don't want to give away too many titles or ask for too many, since they are meant to be special. That being said though, the mod that's actually making all these events possible is Postcat, who, I mean, she's amazing. I literally couldn't have asked for a better contact to start hosting events. Because for the Speedrun server, we ended up doing a bounty where basically you'd gain points for how high your placement on the leaderboards was for a run. And originally, I was just asking for one title, maybe a custom name or two if we got enough players. And Toastcat literally said that she would just give us 2 custom names and a title up front. We don't even need to reach a certain amount of people on the leaderboards, which was very good considering the event started during the Dark Ages. But the event did end with an insane amount of runs. Like, I think there was over 150 runs submitted and over like 50 world records. I think it was like 27 or more world records in the final, which was like insane. That event did really well, and I definitely want to host more for these speedrun leaderboards in the future. I'm also looking into hosting a PvP event soon. While I personally don't have interest in PvP, I just want to give it a try for a change of pace. My current idea is just going to be getting streamers to stream in the depths, and basically if they survive long enough, then they win the title, but if you grip them, they get the title. Because something like that allows people to easily just try the event for fun, while keeping some risk because, well, you're risking your slot wiping to potentially get a title. And generally, wipe events like that are the ones that get better rewards, since there's a lot more risk to them. Like, I know Agomatsu has given away a couple spec enchants for some of his wipe events in the past. I don't know how commonly he's gonna do them, since I'm pretty sure each time he needs to actually code the enchant, but it would be cool to give away one of these unobtainable enchants for an event. Not to mention, it's also an event literally anyone can participate in as long as they get into the server, which is definitely going to be the main challenge I'll have to work out. Obviously, apart from who's going to be playing in the event, since I need to pick creators who are both good in depths and also able to work in a team with other creators. Because region's a big limiting factor to events, because if I do EU servers, then the NA players are going to be higher ping, but if I do NA servers, then the EU players are going to be higher ping. So I do have to find a middle ground, but I feel like if I do a depths event with, let's just say 6 people versus however many people can join the server, I feel like at that point, even if you are 200 ping, it's still winnable because there's different play styles you can play to survive. But the event is still in its very early stages of planning, so if you have any good ideas for the event, or even some content creators you think would be good at it, definitely let me know in the comments, and I can try to get in touch with them when I flesh out the event a little more and actually talk to Toast about organizing rewards. We're only a couple strength away from hitting 80, so I'm just gonna chop down trees. That way I do get a little bit of strength XP, plus I'm gonna need the wood in order to do more faeryman later anyways. This is certainly not the fastest way, but I mean, it's at least a little more productive than just spamming the dumbbell. There is 80 strength, which is all we need on the build. Now I'll just lock it, and I think I might as well train Gay. Although heavy weapon does need to be trained as well. Okay, I'll do one more faeryman to unbound heavy weapon, and then we're gonna go to Fort Merit and start to train our Gale. Okay, I almost killed faeryman. I actually want to leave him alive in order to get to 75 heavy weapon. That way it actually unbounds when I kill him. So I'll do that, and now I can just kill faeryman because Gale Punch should do it. And there we go, heavy weapon unbounded. Now I'm gonna head back to the authority base so I can buy the Gale training item, and we can just train off lightning clones. The thing with multi-hit mantras is they actually train your element significantly faster. I don't actually know why, but it's just gonna make abusing lightning clones that much easier. Oh, I don't want to hit the guards. Okay, low cooldown lightning clones. It also allows us to spawn more and actually deal more damage. Since if the lightning clone is knocked on the ground, you're not actually dealing damage to it, and thus you're not gonna get any element training. But doing it like this is going to guarantee maximum Gale training per lightning clone. I probably didn't need to do 2 full lightning clones, as my training XP is gonna get reset when I power up. Anyways, Berserk, that is what we wanted. I I don't know if I'll get going nowhere. It's good, but I probably don't need it. That being said, there is a lot of extra talent cards that we do get on this build, so maybe I'll have room for it in the future. I'll grab Risky Moves, that's really good for Ethiron. Then I'll get Song Chant, and now it's just spamming the Gale and killing my own Lightning Clone. And with this next Gale Breath point, there is Power 18. I am going to Mystic for Wind Passage, as we're still taking it on this build, since it's incredibly good for layer 2. I don't... Actually, Suffocating Impact is decent for humanoids. I'll get Spine Cutter, that's going to increase our damage nicely. And, okay, I will freeze Twisted Kicks and take Wind Passage here. We only need 10 more Gale points, but at this point of the build, we can just do this to get to 60 Gale, and then let's get to 100 Weapon. Autodidact is such nice quality of life since the build just kind of ends early and you can skip the more annoying stuff to train like Heavy Weapon. Since if I wasn't training it in tandem with other stats while doing Faeryman, it would have been incredibly aids to train. Anyways, 5 Song Chant, and we'll keep leveling up our... Actually, we need 5 Willpower before I forget. There we go. That will give us plus 5 HP, which is nice for the overall tankiness of the build. I'll grab Wind Step for the double jump. Don't need any of these. I guess I'll grab Fast Blade. Get Aftercut for the additional damage. And I guess I'll just grab Twisted Kicks. We'll get the other mantras that we need later on. 6 Song Chant, and now we can cap this off with 100 Heavy Weapon. There we go. I have 5 points left, so I figured it's probably best for me to get Nullifying Clarity, because sometimes that's going to give us more damage. I probably should have done that before I did the Heavy Weapon, but oh well. Anyways, from here, I'm going to transfer over the equipment we're going to be using, and we can do a couple more Faeryman, and then go Bell Check. The bell we want is obviously going to be Crazy Slots. I think I might have forgot to be recording, but I am in a VC with people, and I did get somebody to let me grip them, which is required for Star Kindred. So I'm just going to talk to this NPC, and now I'm pretty sure I have to go to that Void Zone Hive in order to grip that NPC. So from memory, the Star Kindred NPC should spawn around here. I haven't got this oath in an incredibly long time, so I'm not actually too sure. Maybe it bugs if I hop servers? I hope it doesn't, because that would be a little inconvenient, but I feel like it should have been around here. Okay, let me just quickly check the wiki just in case. Okay, so after checking the wiki, it appears that I have to go over to Miner's Landing at that Void Zone across the ocean in order to get Star Kindred. I can't remember why I thought there was an NPC here. They must have changed it, or I've simply just forgotten. Okay, here we are. I am just gonna loot the Calabash Bush because I am getting mildly hungry, as you could probably tell by my vision a second ago. Now, where would this NPC be? Let me see if I can get a video. Okay, he should just be around here. According to the guide that I'm watching, he should just spawn in here. Maybe I can't change servers and that's an issue? If so, that would be kind of annoying, but very Deepwoken-like. Okay, I'll go back to the temple, talk to the NPC again, and then try to kill the angel. Okay, attempt 2. Now, I should be able to find that angel unless they've changed the spawn location or it's literally just bugged. Okay, finally it spawned in. The spawn took a while, and this is not the time for my ping to be doing this. Okay, I think we should be good now. Okay, surprisingly, he is not very... Oh, what? What? How did this man get up when I already downed him and attacked me? He's immortal! He's actually immortal! Okay, wait, maybe if I insta-grip him. I think he might have died. I don't know, we get a lag spike and then he just disappeared. What that NPC was actually immortal! He came back in the grip animation to attack me. So we should be able to go back, and once the screen unfades to black, there is Star Kindred. So let's just... Can I not? Wait, what? Huh? Okay, what? I should be able to max the oath out. Okay, let me try to fix that. So apparently I didn't have the oath progged on any... Oh my god, he's immortal again. Okay, I actually had to insta-grip him in order for him to die. But now I should be able to summon my Star Kindred wings. Damn, that dash is actually kind of nice. Plus, I think the wings look really good with my hair ID. Anyways, oh my god, this lag is insane. But there should be one at Summer Isle and then at that Void Zone spot in Miner's Landing. Here's the second angel. I think our ping's a lot more stable this time, so it should be easier. Alright, there we go. Please don't come back to life again. And he's back to life. Are these actually just immortal NPCs? Okay, with this, I literally have to insta-grip them, otherwise they just keep coming back to life. Anyways, off to the third. I couldn't help but notice there's a free parasol stuck here. So while I'm certainly not at my max damage yet, I figured I might as well just kill it. Sinister Halo actually does decent damage if all of the things hit. Damn, we're actually doing nice damage. Like, we're not fully maxed yet either, but yet parasol just got melted. Holy. I am so excited to see just how strong this build is gonna be with a full crazy slots and with actually popping Rush Hour. Since in the latest update, they made it so the already dead talent, or the Deep Scorn Cask, actually reduced the self-damage of Rush Hour, which is crazy for this build, since it means we can have Rush Hour active for longer without really losing anything. So damn, Star Kindred mobility is so nice. Why is this oath actually better than Jet Striker? Yeah, like, look at that. That is absolutely insane. Okay, I'm gonna keep a close eye on that 1 minute AWOL timer. I am definitely risking it for no reason other than content, but if that timer runs out, then we need to restart the entire prog. So I am praying that we get a fast spawn on the NPC and that the NPC doesn't mess around and we can actually kill it. Although if it does get to like 15 seconds, I am just gonna log manually because I don't want to risk voiding the build. Okay, should just be through here. I'll ignore all the other monsters because realistically I could just use them as a health pack if I really need, but the NPC should spawn. There we go, he spawned in. Oh my god, I forgot how big of a downside Berserk plus Ishins is. Okay, now he should be dead, and there is Star Kindred max. So I am on my friend's insanely old slot because I want to get teleportation on it. That way I can just teleport myself between point A and B while doing the authority missions. It'll also make progging in future a lot more convenient. However, it's going to require me to transfer and use a lot of idols. That could have been a legendary bell. So yeah, this is gonna drain my bank a little bit. Okay, it only took us about 35 idols, but we finally got teleportation and I can corrupt it. Okay, let's head to the Eastern Luminant. Oh my, okay, why is Shoulder Bash bound to C? Okay, we'll head to the Eastern Luminant and I'm just gonna place down some markers on the major islands. Thanks to my speedrunner friend Dust, who is taxiing me around, we finally got the first promotion. If you're wondering why I haven't bothered to record, it's because, well, I mean, the missions, they aren't like super interesting. It's just me teleporting around, waiting for NPCs to spawn and then one-shotting them. Anyways, I don't think we need either of these. And 2 more opponents are using a shield. No, we don't need that. Steel Tread, maybe. I don't want to move slower. Unique 2-hit flourish. That does not knock back. That's actually kind of useful. Right, we're gonna grab those, and Dust is gonna keep carrying me through missions. It's gonna be a lot of grinding. By the way, guys, I forgot to say, go subscribe to Dust. He posts cool speedrunning content, and he's helping bring this video to you like 2 hours faster since I don't have to do all this sailing. How do I beat this mission? What am I meant to do? The boat's like underwater. Oh my god, the boat's literally jumping. The boat is flying! How do I beat this? Oh, wait, the boat bugged out and the bandit appeared. Okay, now how do I get a barrel off this thing? How do I beat this? Alright, second promotion. It's only been way too long. I guess I'll describe Steel Tread, since that can give us some knockback resistance sometimes. Okay, so apparently this should be the NPC for Shock Trooper Division. I think we're in. Also, where is it? Okay, let me just equip this mantra. I'm curious about it because I've never actually seen it used in PvE. I mean, it looks good, but I don't think it's going to particularly do much damage. Anyways, I think I need to continue to prog through these ranks. Oh, this is not fun to do. Is this just lore dialogue from this point? Alright, now we're off to Songseeker to save the hostage. Although, aren't we the real hostages? Because, like, we have to prog this origin for hours, just for minor buffs. This ship legitimately might get me AA gunned. Like, it's just flying around right now. At least I'm recording if it happens so I can get unbanned. I'm pretty sure I just saw one of the bandits get flung too. Okay, oh, I'm flipped into a wall. Okay, there's a bandit in here at least. Okay, I can get out with lightning assault luckily, but this is painful. I'm getting pushed around by the ship. I can luckily get like most of the bandit. What? Did I just get pulled into the wall again by a lightning stream? Oh my god. This mission is not ready. I keep getting clipped into the wall by random NPCs outside. Okay, I clipped out. I can at least fight back now. Okay, that's the NPCs dealt with. Now I just have to try and climb this ship and get these barrels off. I can't interact with them. What? The boat's so buggy, I can't even take the barrels off. That's like the whole point of this mission. Okay, I need to try and get out. The boat's becoming more and more unstable. Why does it keep clipping me into this random wall? And the boat is cheating again. Yeah, it's gonna be a little hard to complete this mission. At least there's a barrel here. I don't know if this is gonna give me credit for the mission at all. Crash into it, stop the boat. Oh, wait, why did that actually kind of work? We actually kind of stopped the boat. Okay, it's still really hard to get the barrels. It's like building up speed right now and it's, oh, mission failed? What? What was I meant to do there? The boat just like flew into layer 3. It actually was a building up momentum just to, yeah. Something tells me that this authority mission was not quite ready to ship, no pun intended. Honestly, me and Dust just decided to give up on the authority origin. Even though we had teleportation, that mission was just so buggy and kept losing us points. So we decided that it just wasn't worth it to do because we kept getting sent back or having to log from missions. The posture break talents won't even be that impactful because realistically, you can't even do Duke on this origin, so I need another account just to open the door just to do Duke. Honestly, just because I can't do Duke, that's the main reason that I'm considering just swapping to Deepbound. Could I go AWOL? Wait, no, I don't think you can even go AWOL now that I'm in a division. I'm actually trapped into a division that's actively hurting my build. I think you guys can see why I disagree with the authority origin because like, sure, it gives you QOL, but like, I'm permanently stuck with these debuffs. I mean, I did pick it when I chose the origin. Sure, that is on me. But yeah, I'm probably gonna reprog this entire origin as Deepbound just because I want actual QOL. I mean, I gave this origin a chance. Like, I took the time to prog with it to see if, you know, it was actually worth it. But this origin is just all style, no substance. It looks really good, but it's not good. Also, we didn't get anything we wanted from the bell. If you're wondering, we're after crazy slots. Out of curiosity, I'm also going to pop a couple buffs to try and actually kill this bounder. This is going to be not reflective at all of how fast we're going to kill it in the end, because, well, that's 4 hits there, but obviously we didn't have all of our buffs active, we had no chain stacks, and obviously we had no crazy slots. That's an alright kill time for how little buffs we had active. After this, I did indeed go reprog the entire build as a Deepbound, but I got to the same point. I'm just going to reroll my Bell at Young Shoal, where after crazy slots, which unfortunately it doesn't look like we're gonna get, so I'm just gonna keep rolling. I have notoriously bad luck with my bells. So many times I've gotten several corrupt bells for a normal common bell, and I am just after crazy slots. I keep saying this, but no one really uses the NPC that tells you your resonance progression anymore. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody will tell me in the comments. But whoever he is, I have been saying for so long to make him a mystic for common bells. Because sure, I can afford to spend like 15 idols to get a common bell, but most people can't, and especially for builds that depend on a bell, it would be really annoying to keep doing Ethiron runs just to not get the bell you need. So I feel like turning him into a bell mystic would be a lot better. Like, look how many tries it took me for a normal crazy slots, and I have no clue if this is going to be good. That's going to require a lot of testing that I'll do after. I just wanted to get crazy slots on video. I can corrupt it as well. I wouldn't actually mind insanity downside, but non-corrupt is preferable if the odds are good enough. So now that we're rocking a maxed out build, I want to show you the personal best that I got for Primadon. This personal best broke the current world record, by the way. As you'll see in a second, I managed to kill Primadon in 9 M1s, but it easily could have been 8 if I popped aftercut. And as you also just saw, I managed to M1 through one of his attacks thanks to the Duke Relics effect. So yeah, this build melted Primadon with like no effort. Okay, now we're gonna run a quick layer 2 just to test how this build performs over there. This certainly isn't gonna be a fast run, mainly because of the absence of Glacial Arc. it is one of those things that the devs aren't fixing for PvE. Like, I get it was used in PvP to cheese and run away from fights, but it is such a cool movement tech for PvE, and I really wish it would stay around. Again, my proposal for a lot of the stuff that just isn't in PvE anymore is to simply just only make it work outside of combat. That way there's no way to cheese with it, but it's still left in the game for general movement, since being able to glacial up cliffs felt very good for quality of life. Okay, I will try to pop a lot of our buffs for this Bonekeeper, since I am curious on how fast we can kill it. A great sword, there we go. Pop Rush Hour, static. And of course we get hit. Can I just stat check him? Okay, that isn't bad. Yeah, okay. I think that was like 6 M1s? Which 6 M1s to kill a Bonekeeper is pretty good in my opinion. Obviously, if he landed a Spine Cutter, didn't get hit, or used our mantras, he probably would have died even faster. Now let's just go over here, and we are right in front of the Union base. Okay, this is going to be a slight issue because I don't actually know how to get Spear without cheesing it out of bounds. Because if you don't know, they ended up making the Void of Layer 2 work as a C, meaning that I can no longer just clip out of bounds to get teleported back to the surface. Because that was the way that I was originally taught on how to get Spear and escape the maze. So I'm actually out of ideas for how to get out. I think I might know the method, but I've never actually just walked around in cave normally. So this will be a first to me. Okay, I'll start by going back the way that I came. So we'll just go through here. We're probably going to run into a Bonekeeper or two if I had to guess. Let's see, what's this way? Oh, Bounder. Alright, I'm going to avoid you. And, oh wait. Okay, my theory was right. It was this way. Okay. Now, I need to get my bearings for where I actually am. Oh, I think I know. Oh, yeah, okay. This is where you go down to get Spear. Alright, okay. I do remember. Actually, I want to kill a Bounder as well, just for fun. Okay, that wasn't bad. 3 hits to kill a Bounder. Obviously, we weren't popping like all of our buffs, so probably 2 hits with all of our buffs. So it'd probably be 2 hits if I actually popped all my buffs, and 1 hit before I even reach max chain. There's Ethiron's Gaze, so let's actually go through Bounder's Nest. Looking back on it, I honestly regret taking the Gale. While Gale is a very strong attunement, it just isn't as strong as completely maxed out M1s, which is why I didn't really use Gale against Primadon. It does give you some really good quality of life mobility, which like the ability to double jump as well as Gale Leap and Wind Passage in Layer 2 are super nice, don't get me wrong, but it probably would have been better if I went something like Blind Seer in order to get the buffs from that, or potentially just went Iron Sing. So that's why the official build that I release may be slightly different. I just want to look into what Aftercut actually does, because if you don't know, enemies that resist Gale will take less damage from Aftercut. Now I'm just going to try to build max chain off this Bonekeeper. This certainly isn't going to be a very fast run because I took time to build chain off lightning clones, but don't worry, I will get a faster one after. For now, let me just pop Inhale, Rush Hour, and try and do Chaser. Okay, that's pretty good. We dealt a bar and a half already. Sadly, we don't have Flame Sentinel, although you can mod this build to get it. Okay, I do want to try to pop the rest of my buffs. So Lightning Clone, Static Withdraw. Okay, yeah, we're definitely not... Yeah, this isn't an amazing run at all, but, you know, pretty effortless. We were missing Taunt, which would have given us more damage, and we could have used Gale Mantras to pre-fire potentially, and obviously get the double Spine Cutter, but not a bad run. Still get a Chaser 1 cycle without any real effort at all. You just hold down the M1 button and you win. That's kind of the philosophy of this build. It's just a simple, no-nonsense, max damage M1 build. I will do an Ethiron though, because I am curious on just how good this build can perform against him. Okay, time for an Ethiron. This is not going to be a fast run at all, but I am curious to see just how easy it's going to be for this build to kill him. Okay, no chest over there, turn on the first lantern, and let's go to Puzzle Room. I will show you a neat way you can actually skip doing most of Puzzle Room if your build has certain mantras. It's really powerful for just saving yourself time, since doing the code does take a while. So by jumping down and coming around here, I believe if you go through this wall, you should clip into the end of the puzzle room. Okay, I was a little bit off, but I think you know what I mean. I'm gonna have to wait for Wind Passage now. It's really annoying that they fixed roll clipping. I actually think roll clipping was so cool. It was only really problematic when you could just spark swap people out of bounds or into a wall, but that's not really an issue anymore, so I think it's fine. I got the Doctor just because you never know when you're gonna want monster mantras, and he's just a free unlock I can get. I clipped into the wrong part. I'm gonna have to wait for another Wind Passage. There we go, clip out, and back to the floor 2. I also wish there was a way to keep your Star Kindred wings on permanently. Like, I know I can just do this to keep it on whenever it toggles off, but I would prefer to just not have to do that and have them always on, because it's always nice to have the better dash. But that's just a nitpick. Did I? Oh, okay. For a second, I thought I actually might have clipped past the trigger that actually spawns all of these snipers. If you don't know, back when you could fling yourself the Glacial Arc, you could go over the trigger and not have to worry about any snipers at all. But sadly, it looks like I can't just do it with Lightning Assault or Wind Passage. Or maybe I just don't know the right spacing. Anyways, there's Tower, and now let's go into Sewers. I am sort of tempted to clear out Sewers. I mean, I have Light Hook, so I can safely do it. Sewers done, and I will also grab this chest. Oh my god, please don't. What is going on? What is going on, game? Oh wait, that isn't it. Okay, I thought that'd be like a kill barrier for some reason. What is going on? I think the chests are buggy for some reason because I couldn't climb on it and it was weird standing on it. Actually, wait, I have a... Okay, I rarely get to use this anymore. I'm so glad I can. I can just grab Spark Swap and... Maze is trivialized. Oh my god, that is so nice to do. I haven't been able to do that in ages. And I can just clip through that wall to forget about dealing with those guards. Time to get the third and final lantern, and I will look around for more Chaos Medallions. Actually, I don't have a Diver's Ring on. Damn, if I had a Diver's Ring on, this could have been even easier. I will try to health back up one of these guys, though. I would rather be at higher health and not have to AFK in order to regen with Warrior's Respite. Here we are at Ethiron. I'm just going to recast my Gale Wisp beforehand, and I am going to re-equip Taunt. Just because we don't really need Spark Swap right now, and let's start the fight. This is obviously going to be an easy one cycle. I'm just going to try to count the M1s when we actually stun him. Keep in mind, we're not going to have max chain, and I am missing 5% from not having a Diver's Ring equipped. Oh my god, we're laggy. Well, hopefully that lag doesn't come back to bite me. And another bone in, and we're just gonna parry the ult, obviously. Like, this attack is surprisingly easy to parry. Most people just get nervous to do it. I should have Aldor active. I literally never activate Aldor because I just always forget it exists. Well, hi Ethiron. Oh, he likes me. Oh my god, he really likes me. Wait, should I be like rolling crazy slots? I didn't want that yet. Yeah, I'm a little far away from the altars, Ethiron. Oh my god, I'm just getting dagger. Okay, please give me something that isn't dagger in a second. Alright, another ult. Should I go back and get one of the bones? Yeah, I probably will. Yeah, he really likes me, holy. And of course I get spear! Give me good rolls! Why is it when I'm in Ethiron, I'm getting like the worst crazy slots rolls? But I'm getting, oh my god. Okay, please don't get a lag spike like that during an ult. Stop slamming, I can't attack back. This is the wrong time to be using that bone attack. Oh, I am so nervous with this lag. I have luckily never wiped to Ethiron before. Just, actually, I haven't wiped to the escape sequence either. I've just wiped in floor 2 when I first started. Okay, okay, Divine Great Axe, good. Okay, now I need to get down, rush hour, that. Berserk? Berserk isn't active. I'm pressing 5. Berserk does not want to activate. Berserk does not want to activate. So since Berserk just decided to not activate for some reason, I'll show on screen what a actual one cycle Ethiron would look like if I can activate my buffs. This was done by leaving Ethiron at full HP intentionally. I didn't have a Diver's Ring, and I don't even have Ethiron's Bestiary Max. So I pretty easily one cycled. Also, I did try using Sightless Beam just out of curiosity, and no, for some reason Sightless Beam is completely horrible against Ethiron. But by the end of it, my M1s were doing over 1/3 of a bar per, which as we know from Primadon, if I was at max chain, it would be half a bar per M1. Why was Berserk bugged? Why is it working now? Bro, Ethiron has insane physical armor. Ethiron has insane physical armor, and we missed out on it because Berserk wasn't active. I gotta redo this Ethiron fight now. Oh my god, game. You're trolling me. Okay, now for these guys, it's simple. I always just go left. Oh, bro. No. What do I meant to do? What do I meant to do? I gotta leave the game. I hope I actually didn't wipe. Wait, okay, I'm gonna check. Wait, I actually hope I didn't wipe. What? No! I'm in fragments! Bro! I clipped into the floor and wiped! That is BS. I can get a restore at least because I was recording for like a fair bit of that. So I reprogged the entire build, no trial of 1. I'm at the end of it in 33 minutes, which is crazy. I'm just gonna get let down to layer 2 so I can get 2 knowledge, so I don't even need to use a Moon's Eye Tome pre-shrine. So this random Voidwalker freshie jumped in my layer 2. He's gonna get heretics, I've gotta do knowledge quests, so we both benefit. Also, that was 33 minutes while sailing all the way from Vigils to Trial of 1. And you can't do Trial of 1 on a deep bound, I just forgot. Anyways, that should be +2 knowledge. There we go, now I can just go Shrine of Chance, Rush Hour. Also, don't worry, I'm not gonna make you watch the second half of the prog. I just wanted to reiterate how broken Scholar's Brew was and how easy this build is to prog without a Moon's Eye. Honestly, I might be entering the simple skip Agrippa era for a little bit, as my next build is also very simple achievement-wise, and I also plan to do a beginner build very soon. That being said, I do have a 6 achievement mage planned, so like, you know, you can't have it all. Painfully, restores are still down, and I haven't managed to contact anyone who can restore me, so because I wiped to a bug, I'm literally gonna have to pay Robux to restore. Yeah, this is just sad that I have to, you know, pay because of a bug, but it's okay, we'll make it back on the prog. But now I'm also going to transfer all of my equipment off the slot because I decided to prog Lunar Lord for the 3rd time because I realized the Gale wasn't really useful and I wanted to go Blind Seer. It was already one of the variants I was going to release, but I confirmed that the hybrid variant just wasn't worth it. If I edited the video right, you would have seen the pre-shrine of that build, which it's now max and I just need to transfer over equipment and do the hair IDs. Anyways, I'll see you there in a sec. Since you've already seen an Ethiron kill on this build, I think I should show you what a Chaser kill looks like. Now, sadly my Lightning Cloak ran out, but that doesn't matter because I pop all of my buffs, and I'm dealing a 1/3 of a bar to Chaser. Plus, I have Sightless Beam as an option, which can do up to 4 bars. So yeah, this build has 2 easy ways to one-cycle Chaser, and I could have gotten the grip off if I actually procced Discovery of Fire. Then again, it's not like one-cycling Chase is that hard. This build does so much damage that the Primadon world record is a much better example of why this build is so strong. And for fun, I thought I would show you what a Vow of Thorns trial on this build looks like, because I was just escaping the depths and I didn't think I would deal as much damage as I did. So first we got a Corrupt King Thresher, which has over 7,000 HP, but it dies in 2 hits. And then a Corrupt Lightning Squirbo suffers the same fate. Yeah, who would have thought that dealing true damage with Berserk would lead to me dealing a lot of damage? So I thought it'd pay to actually do a Faeryman on this build, just to see how much M1 damage we're dealing now that we're maxed. Also, something that I found out is that by using a Formless Shard with Metal, I can avoid insta-gripping the Lightning clones and pretty much gain max chain off just 2. You can just M1 it constantly and you'll always get chain even if it blocks. This is just a really good quality of life thing and is just going to make you building chain significantly easier. If you are counting, then I should be about at max chain already. Okay, now I'm just gonna Gale Trap him so I get some Spectre Bar, and I'm gonna repeat that to basically guarantee that I can also have Phantom Step active, since that is a speed boost and it can never hurt to be faster. Okay, that should be enough Spectre Bar. Now I just have to try and roll for crazy slots. The ideal weapon is Divine Axe, but I will also take Divine Greatsword since that does deal more damage, it just swings slower. Although over a longer period of time, the Divine Greatsword will actually get me more damage. There we go. Now, Rush Hour, that, Berserk, Lightning Cloak, Static Withdraw. I haven't done Faeryman on this slot? Oh my god, I haven't. Okay, well, this is not going to be fast at all because we haven't done a single faeryman. Man, that could have been so much fun. You know, I'm redoing this. We could have easily gotten faster. Okay, another attempt. Just gonna roll for crazy slots. Also, I think I can place a gale trap underneath the start of... Okay, no, that's too far away. Guess it's like an invisible hitbox random or something. Anyways, toggle... Oh my god, the slag. What is it? What? Why is it not? Why is... Okay, Phantom Step isn't toggling on for some reason. Okay, wait. No, okay, I am just lagging. Alright, we'll ignore it. Okay, I don't know if Faeryman's possible in this lag, but I'm gonna try anyways. Yeah, it's not possible in this lag. Why? Why when I go to record does my internet just start dying? Alright, crazy slots. Got the good one. Pop that. Berserk, inhale, cloak. Okay, good so far. And... No! Oh my god! Bro, why? Why? A gale trap killed him! He was actually 1 HP! Bro, come on. You know, I should have just M1'd. I should have just M1'd one more time and he would have been dead. That's on me. That's on me. And that's where I'm gonna call the progression. This is without a doubt the ultimate boss killer M1 PvE build, capable of dealing over 3,000 damage in M1, and about 2,900 of that is true damage. Meaning that this build is absolutely insane for bosses like Enmity or Elder Primadon that have a lot of physical resistance, because Berserk completely bypasses it. Remember, I'll be dropping the showcase at 2,000 likes or 500 subscribers gained on this video, so join the Discord so you don't miss that. A huge thank you to my channel members, especially those kind souls in the Mega and Super tiers. They get these videos early along with other channel member perks. Check out some more PvE content and I'll see you all next time.